If I had to rate J.B.Hunt Intermodal for my first 30 days, I would give it a 6 out of 10. One of the biggest issues I've had with overnight is locating and empty. As soon as I got back here to my location, the crane was already had the container up waiting on me. My first week on my own, I was going through it. As far as like right now, my pay has been decent. Not gonna lie, it hasn't been better than the dedicated Kroger account. It has not been better than the dedicated Kroger account. I can admit to that. If you're looking for OTR money, lease purchase money, owner operator money, nah, then this not for you. Like, this is not structured that way. You ain't gonna really make too much money on miles. You're gonna make your money out drops. Due to the fact that I wasn't properly trained on how to do the activity, I wasn't paid for it. Imagine how stressed I was about that I felt like I sat out there for nothing. So I know a lot of y'all probably asking me like, well, you know, after your 30 days, do you feel like it's worth it? What it do, truckers? How y'all been doing, man? I know I've been gone for a minute. Had some things I had to take care of, but we back. And then this video right here, take y'all on a ride along, but during that ride along, we gonna do a 30-day review because I have reached my 30-day period with the J.B.Hunt Intermodal account. So right now what I'm about to do is I just got my dispatch, I just got my loads, I just got my truck. I'm about to go ahead and start my pre-trip. Get ready to head to the first rail yard, which is down here in Fairburn. And during the ride, you know, we gonna make some stops. We gonna do a couple things, but mostly we are gonna be talking about my first 30-day experience as a J.B.Hunt Intermodal hauler. All right. It may not be the prettiest review, but it's definitely gonna be the most honest one. All right, so y'all make sure y'all stick around and make sure you hit that like button, comment and subscribe, and let's go ahead and get into the video, all right? All right, y'all, so let's talk about our first 2 weeks, J.B.Hunt Intermodal. Now, my first 2 weeks was, I was training. And for the first, cause we work 5 days a week, 2 days out. So my train-up was Monday through Friday. So the first Monday through Friday, the first day, I basically did a ride along to see how everything went. And we did morning shifts. He was on the morning. We started like at 5 in the morning. And I'm on night shift, so we gonna get into the differences of morning and night shift. It's completely different. Completely different process, completely different warehouses, loads and all that is like, from what I've been experiencing, it's completely different. So the first Monday through Friday, the first day I did a ride along, he just showed me the ins and outs of how to go about, processing the loads, the BOLs, and everything of that nature, right? So I started driving after the first day, and the morning shift was a bunch of live loads. Out of the 10 days of me training, I think we probably only did 2 dropping hooks. Everything else was live loads. Now, the live load pays more than the dropping hook. So, as we were doing the live loads, everything was going smooth. No real complications. We ran into a couple things that he would have to train me up on. But for the most part, it pretty much was everything I was already used to. The only difference was the locations. Like, I have never been to the locations before, but other than that, I done did live loads, dropping hooks, I done did that. So the first week was basically that. Not too many complications, not too much training, because I pretty much knew how to do live loads. The second week, the first 2 days of the second week, I had a different trainer because my first trainer was on vacation. And, he had to train me up on a few things of how to do this thing called the activity. Like you add different types of activities to your loads to make sure you get paid in case there's any discrepancies, like a delay or a load may be denied or there may be complications at the rail. So if there's any complications, they got this little section of the app where you could put in the activity to where you would get paid for that. Now, I didn't get a lot of training on that because, like I said, it was not a lot of complications. Everything was going smooth. So I finished up my first 2 weeks of training and, I felt like I was ready. I'm like, oh, if this all it is, I'll be ready for that. Now, going overnight, completely different. Everything they trained me to do, completely out the window. Completely out the window, right? We pulling into the rail yard right now. Completely out the window. Overnight, 90%, maybe 95% dropping hook. For me, it's been about 95% dropping hook. I had one live load, and I wasn't even able to complete that live load because I don't know if the dispatch knew what time I come in at night, because the time that I come in was the appointment time for the live load. I don't know why they still allow me to take the load to the location. I guess they was thinking like, oh, if you get it there, because it wasn't far from the rail yard. I guess they thought like, if I get it there, they may accept it. No, not at all. As soon as I pulled up to the gate, there was no help. I was calling the number. They weren't picking up the phone. I basically had to back all the way back out in reverse to get off the premises because it was like a one-way in, one-way out. So luckily, I ran into a security guard, and he told me that, the night shift are some petty people. He said that they are real petty, and they don't pick up the phone, which they should, and let drivers know the cutoff time. So basically, I came after the cutoff time, which I didn't know. So I ended up having to take that live load back to the terminal for the next person to do it the next day, right? This is the first time I've ever pulled up to a location to have a container drop on the chassis, and the crane was waiting on me to get here. That is definitely a first. Normally I have to sit for about 30 minutes, 45 minutes. As soon as I got back here to my location, the crane was already had the container up waiting on me. So for one, I need to make sure that they got the right container, because whenever you go and have a container drop on your chassis, you have to check to make sure that the container matches what you're supposed to be getting. Like 9 times out of 10, they be right, but one time, the guy asked me, hey, is this the right container? And I had to let him know, yeah, that was the right container. But due to the fact that they was here waiting on me, you got to get out of your truck so they could drop the container. So I didn't have time. I didn't have time to check to see if it was the right one, but I will in a second. Night shifts, I attempted to do one live load, but that didn't go as planned, so I had to take that back to the terminal, right? Everything else is pretty much dropping hooks. Now, the only issue that I have, well, I ain't gonna say the only, I've had a few issues with doing it overnight. For one, I have no training for overnight. Like I said, overnight and mornings, two different things. Overnight, if you have an issue out here on the road, calling your dispatch manager, Man, listen, it's a hassle, because there's not as many managers or dispatchers overnight like there is in the morning. So you have a hard time getting through if you and multiple drivers are calling to, solve an issue.
Right on Cascade Palmetto Highway.
So that right there was something I had to get used to. But luckily for me, my morning manager, before they transferred me to nights, put me in contact with an overnight trainer. So whenever I ran into little certain issues overnight, it could be, finding an empty, or it could be, what do I do at this ship or receiver when there's an issue at the ship or receiver. The overnight manager will help me out with it. Now, one of the biggest issues I've had with overnight is locating an empty. This is my first time ever having a situation or a procedure to where you will have to go to different location. It could be a DC, it could be a drop yard, a terminal, or whatever, where you will have to go to different locations, or you will have to attempt or try different locations to find that empty. Now, let's just say I drop off at a receiver, right? And coming out, I need an empty. I need an empty coming out so I can drop it and pick up at a shipper, right? They just say the receiver I'm dropping at doesn't have any empties on site. That means I would have to try to find a receiver out on the road. Find an empty out on the road. So the overnight trainer gave me a bunch of different locations close to my location that I was having trouble with at the time. And she was saying, listen, you will have to try this location, this location, this location. She gave me a whole list of different DCs that I would have to go to find a location. So I had a situation one time to where a receiver didn't have any empties. I called her, she gave me the list. I went to the first location, which was like half a mile away. They didn't have any empties, right? I went to the second location. Before I could get in the gate to attempt to find an empty, I received a message from my dispatcher that they had switched the loads. So it was kind of complicated because I was already out and about trying to find an empty, but now y'all are switching the loads to where I would have to go back to the rail yard I just came from to pick up a load and take it somewhere else. So it's things like that that I've had to deal with that have kind of made things kind of complicated for me because I'm not used to it. Now, after, I want to say that was the third week, I was going through it. That third week after training, my first week on my own, I was going through it. You know what I'm saying? I had a lot of delays. I didn't know what to do during the delays, so I would just sit and call the dispatcher, sit on the phone for 30 minutes, 45 minutes, waiting on somebody to pick up or respond back to me. I've had multiple blowouts. One time on the highway, I had a blowout. One time I went to a receiver and the container I was picking up had a flat tire, so I had to sit for about 2-3 hours to wait, which that is typical, But during those times, I was forgetting to put in the activity. I was forgetting to put in, my downtime. So I was missing out on money. So that was becoming, stressful for me. I'm not gonna lie. So the fourth week, After communicating with the overnight manager, the overnight trainer, and she was helping me out a lot. And I started picking up on my own as if like, okay, when I get to the rail yard, if this happens, this is what I do to keep me moving. That's the biggest thing about overnight. You want to keep moving. That's how you make your money. You know, you ain't gonna really make too much money on miles. You're gonna make your money out drops. You know, so you want to keep moving. And for me, my biggest thing is to get as many drops as I can before the morning rush pick up. Because once that morning rush pick up, I'm calling it a day. You know, I'm not finna deal with that morning traffic, and you know, around that time I may have like 2-3 hours left on my clock. So it's like that ain't the time to play with that morning traffic, that morning rush. And then you gotta think about it. When you're going into these shippers or receivers, it's not a lot of trucks coming in and out. But in the mornings, that's when everybody's going in, everybody's coming out. So it's delays in that as well. So during those times, I try my best to drop as many loads as I can before like 6:30, 7 o'clock in the morning. I try to be on my way back or dropping my last load around 6:30, 7 o'clock in the morning. So if I do that, I learned that my 4th week, as long as I can do that, I could be making good timing and I could be making money as long as I remember to put in my activities. We made it to our first drop. We got 2 drops tonight. I asked them to add another one to it. They said they was gonna do it for me. But this is one of the receivers that doesn't have empties. Remember I was telling y'all how one of my biggest issues, one of the most complicated things to deal with overnight for me was when a receiver didn't have empties, which means I would have to find that list. Well, I got the list, but I would have to go to that list that the overnight trainer gave me and try to go to these different DCs to see if they have any empties. And that takes time. So after we drop this one, we're gonna go to, hopefully the first one have one. So yeah, after we drop this one, hopefully the first one have one. That way we don't have to go anywhere else, because after we drop this one, we got a 60-mile trip north of Georgia, up I-75 North, where, you know, that's like a little over an hour drive. So I'm not trying to delay that too much. And I was told to drop this one in 61. Which I don't see 61. I'm guessing it goes around the building. So yeah, we gonna go ahead and drop this container, and then we gonna head to I'm gonna check the list and see maybe 2-3 DCs that's close to where I'm at right now. We're gonna try to see if we can find an empty container. Hopefully at the first, if not the first, please be the second. And it's nights like this I prepare for. That way it's less stressful when you understand that this is typical, like this is a normal night. At first, I just thought I was having a rough night. Like, I'm like, man, the night is going bad. I can't find no empties. I can't do this. Like, then after a while, I'm like, this is typical. Like, this is what goes in and out of doing this job, at least on this account. So we gonna go ahead and drop this one, and then we gonna check the list, see if we can find another one. Then I'm gonna check in with y'all after that. All right, truckers, believe it or not, we're at our third location looking for empty. Lithia Springs at Quaker Oats. And shout out to that driver, man, that told me that he be watching my videos, man. Really appreciate y'all. So, yeah, right now, I'm not sure if they even have empties here. I see a whole nother parking area over there. And I'm not sure if it's the same as this one. I think it is. Yeah, I think it is. I see some J.B.Hunts over there, so. I know down here, I don't see no empties down here. I don't even see no J.B.Hunts on the side, all of them up against the dock. And what we ain't gonna do, we ain't gonna touch no containers that's up against that dock. So what I'm about to do is, because this is not supposed to be part of the video, but this is what I mean when I say, to me, overnight, this is the most complicated thing you have to deal with being overnight. Is when a receiver do not have empties coming out and you have to go location to location to location to find them. Now, the first location I went to was a drop yard right around the corner from the Lithia Spring Terminal. It was 0 containers there. I saw a few reefers, but that was it. Then I went to another spot called Medline. They say you gotta bring in a container to leave out with the empty, so that was a no-go. So now I'm at my third location and I've been at it for about an hour. So, yeah, let's see if we can find an empty. And like I said, we still got like 50-some miles to go to our next location to pick up and bring it back to Fairburn. In White, Georgia. We gotta go to White, Georgia and bring that back to Fairburn, which is over 60 miles. So, which is over an hour drive. Could be like an hour 15 drive. So, yeah, this is what I mean when I say it's complicated finding these empties, man. Since we back at the Palmetto Rail Yard, I guess I'll let y'all know how I feel about the rail yards and what I've been having to deal with within my first 30 days, right? The rail yards isn't that bad. Not to me. They're not that bad. The one that I don't like, if I have to say my least favorite, is the Atlanta rail yard. I don't go to Austell that much, and I'm always going to
make a sharp left turn.
the one in Fairburn. So I'm pretty familiar with Fairburn, so I know how to get in and out of Fairburn if there's no type of delays. Now, one issue I did have one time was, and it was one of the delays, that if you go to pick up a container and it's not put on the chassis good enough, you will have to go to one of the guys that's
Make a sharp left turn.
You have to go to one of the guys that are working the crane on the ground. Like, they got the big crane, then they got the crane that's, I don't know how to put it, but it's on the ground. It's on 4 wheels. So one time I went, and the chassis that the container was on was a no-go, right? The pins wouldn't lock, they were not secure, nothing, right? So I didn't know what to do. So I called the overnight trainer and asked her what to do. She told me I had to take it to one of the guys that's working the crane on the ground. I said, okay, cool. She said, they'll just swap the chassis. You take it to them, go get a better chassis, and they will put that when they'll swap it. Cool. As I'm going to find one of the guys, which they are in this little area. As I go to the area, it's like 3 cranes lined up beside each other. Nobody's working them. And it's like 2 drivers in front of me. So I asked them what's going on. They say they doing a shift change. Now doing I didn't know how long the shift change was gonna take because I didn't know, that was my first time. Man, we sat out there for about like an hour and a half. And once again, due to the fact that I wasn't properly trained on how to do the activity, I wasn't paid for it. So, imagine how stressed I was about that I felt like I sat out there for nothing. And, an hour and a half later, one of the guys come in and they simply take the container off the chassis. I go get another one. They sit it down on that one and I head out. So that night I cut my night short. I ain't feel like, I was already in a bad mood after that happened. So I ain't want to be out there in a bad mood, not focused, not concentrating, slick, traumatized, upset about wasted time. So once I familiarize myself with that, because one thing I do like is that if I go through something one time, more than likely, I'm not gonna go through it a second time. Like I learned pretty fast from that first mistake or whatever, that first incident, I learned pretty fast. So I rarely go through the same thing twice unless it's just something that's just out of my control. But if it's something that's in my control, I really don't, once I learn the ins and outs and what's going on and what was happening, I kind of figure it out from there. Is this crane coming? Oh, no. So right now what I'm doing is I'm bringing this container to be live lifted off of the chassis. My first time doing this, I'm trying to think if I was with my trainer the first time I did it. And no, the first time I got it, I got it loaded live from the crane. I was with my trainer. But my first time getting it live lifted, I ain't gonna lie, I ain't know what to do, so I went and asked another driver, what to do, and he was telling me like, oh, you gotta get out, you gotta unlock the pins, you gotta do all of that, which I kind of figured, like to unlock the pins and everything like that. I kind of figured to do that part. And he was like, oh, you just gotta get out. Once you see the crane hover over you, just make sure you get out, safety purposes. So now, once again, I learned that and didn't have a problem doing that no more. So when it comes down to the rail yards, if you learn from your mistakes or you learn from certain incidents when it comes to the rail yard, a lot of times you really shouldn't make that mistake again. You know what I'm saying? Once you learn the area, the yard, the locations of where they ask you to put them at, it becomes kind of routine because you're gonna go to them day in and day out. So with the rail yards, I really didn't have too many issues with the rail yard once, I got to them and I made my mistakes, and, the next time I went out there, I ran into those same situations, I was able to get in and out, so I rarely go to Austell, but Atlanta and the Fairburn rail yards, I'm pretty familiar with. Austell is a big rail yard, and it's easy to familiarize yourself with that rail yard once you get familiar with Fairburn and Atlanta, to me. I don't like Atlanta rail yard because, for one, it's small. It's not as big as Fairburn and Austell, and it just I don't know, for whatever reason, it just feels congested. Like, I don't know what it is about Atlanta rail yard, but it's just, I don't know. I rather, it's not an issue. It's nothing wrong with it. It just, to me, Fairburn and Austell is way more easier to get in and out of. With Atlanta, you gotta wait for somebody to come scan your barcode. Austell and Fairburn, you do that at the kiosk. So, let's just say somebody on break or something, you know what I'm saying? I done been to Atlanta rail yard where I pull up and it took about 5, 6, 7 minutes for somebody to come out there and just scan my barcode that's on my phone, you know what I'm saying? So, other than that, everything been cool, so I ain't really had no issues with the rail yard, but learning to put in my activity when it come down to delays and it come down to certain incidents, and you know what I'm saying, just different situations that causes me to slow down. Once I'm still learning certain activities. They got a name for them. They got the names for them. Like, if you moving a chassis or if you moving an empty, you gotta go and select certain ones so they'll know exactly what you're talking about. And if you don't put it in right, they'll tell you what to do, and you have to go in and change it and do it again. But you want to do it, in time for everything to go through during that pay period, because if they don't approve it, then you may have to wait, or, hopefully they remember to even add it to your next one. And if not, that can be a hassle within itself. But as far as like right now, my pay has been decent. Not gonna lie, it hasn't been better than the dedicated Kroger account. It has not been better than the dedicated Kroger account. I can admit to that. But once again, that's because I'm still learning how to run on the Intermodal account. I'm still learning how to run. Like tonight, I'm doing pretty good. You know what I'm saying? I'm getting in and out of location. Like I said, we had a slight delay when it came down to finding the empty, but I know how to put it in to get paid for it, so it wasn't time wasted. We got paid for that. So as long as I know how to make every second count, make every minute count, every delay count, and then I'm pretty sure I can at least match what I was making on the dedicated account. I don't really think I'm gonna make more than that week in and week out, but I think I can at least match it, you know what I'm saying? So even with the pay, I'm pretty satisfied with it once I started learning how to, use the system while I'm out here, going through whatever I'm going through, saying my trial era. So while I'm going through all of that, it's just teaching me what to do the next day. And then, the day after that, and next week, because there's no smooth night on this account at all. There's no smooth night. Like I said, tonight to me is kind of smooth, even while I had to go to 3 different areas to find an empty. To me, that's to be expected. So that's why I feel like, tonight hasn't been that bad. And I got one more load after this one, which I asked for. It's coming right back to this rail yard. And the terminal is literally 3-4 minutes away. So I'm finna unlock the pins on this one, so when they get ready to come lift it, they can just take it off. And then we gotta go and pick up another load and bring it back here. And then we'll be done for the day. So I'm back at the Fairburn rail yard. I grabbed my third and last load. I've been waiting almost 20 minutes for the dispatcher to send over the way bill to the rail yard so I can drop the container. So I guess we'll close the video out with this right here. So I know a lot of y'all probably asking me like, well, you know, after your 30 days, do you feel like it's worth it? Is what everybody probably want to know. I'm gonna give you two. One, I'm gonna say, yeah, I do think it's worth it. If you are the type of person that has a family, you do gotta hustle up a lot more than what you would have to do if you was over the road to make, you know, over the road type of money. So I would say it's worth it for me, for what I was looking for. I was looking for more of a work-life balance, because I just got a lot going on at home. You know, I done started boxing and, you know, other things of that nature that I got going on. My son graduated from high school, so, you know, he's stepping into a new life. So I gotta make sure I'm there for him when it comes down to that. And my second one would be, depending on what you're looking for, if you're looking for OTR money, lease purchase money, owner operator money, nah, then this not for you. Like, this is not structured that way. You know, the cent per mile isn't structured for you to make what owner operators make, lease purchase make, or what a good paying OTR company driver make. You know, could you make good money? Yeah, of course. I wouldn't be doing it if you couldn't. But like I said, you really got to put your boot into the ground to make that type of money. You know what I'm saying? And depending on what that type of money is to you, everybody different. You know what I'm saying? Some people may think, let's just say $1,500, $1,600 a week ain't nothing. Some people may think it's everything. Some people may think $1,200 a week ain't nothing. Some people may think $1,200 a week is something. So it's all about, you know, what your expenses are and what you got going on at the house. But for me, you know, what I make, you know, once I started calculating, you know, all of the work that I can put into at least an 8 to 10 hour night, I feel like it'll work out just fine for me. So for me, at the moment, after 30 days, I would say it's worth it to me. Like I said, I got a lot going on at home. And right now it's 6:21 in the morning, and I'm normally getting off between 6:30 and 7. So I would have been gone already if I wouldn't been waiting on dispatch to get back to me. So I've literally been sitting out here for over 20 minutes. So me personally, the more I do it, the more I'm starting to get adjusted to the process of how everything goes when it comes down to, you know, finding empties and adding your activity to make sure you get paid for delays or any situation that may cause you to, you know, your load may get turned around or you may not be able to accept a certain type of load. You know what I'm saying? Like, the process of everything I'm starting to get used to as I do it on my own. So I feel like it's worth it after 30 days. Do I miss being over the road? I know some people ask me that. Yeah, a little bit. I ain't even gonna lie to you. Yeah. I kind of miss going to different truck stops in different states and different cities. I ain't gonna lie, I do kind of miss it. I didn't think I'd miss it. I think I'm home every day. But yeah, sometimes I do miss being out there on the road, being out there in the open road. You know what I'm saying? It gives you a little bit of freedom, a certain type of peace when you out there. Even when you at certain truck stops, you know what I'm saying? See me, I'm a thinker, I'm a visionary. You know what I'm saying? I like to get to myself and put together a couple things, get caught up in my thoughts a little bit. So being over the road was perfect for that. But like I said, due to what I have going on at the crib, I prefer what I'm doing now. You know what I'm saying? I do prefer overnight, less traffic on the roads, and less traffic going in and out of DCs. So if I had to rate J.B.Hunt Intermodal for my first 30 days, I would give it a 6 out of 10. And like I said, the reason why I would give it a 6 out of 10, due to the fact that, for one, I was trained in the morning, on a morning shift, instead of overnight. And overnight and morning shift are completely different. For two, the overnight, dispatchers, managers, it's hard to get in contact with them overnight. For three, when it comes down to finding these empties, man, you know what I'm saying? That right there is a process in itself. So I feel like all of those subtract 2 points out of that 10. Well, no, I ain't gonna say all of those subtract 2 points. I say like 1 point. I say like 1 point. So I give it a 7. I'm gonna stick to 6. I'm gonna give it a 6 out of 10. Because a lot of things I was being trained to do, once I got out here on my own, I ran into a lot of problems that I didn't run into when I was with a trainer. And that's to be expected. I don't know why it be like that, but when you with a trainer, it seems like everything's going smooth, but as soon as you get on your own, everything start going, not wrong, but you don't run into as many situations or problems you run into when you with your trainer than you do when you out on your own. So my first 30 days, I give it a 6 out of 10. So we gonna tap back in the next 30 days to see how I feel about it within my 60-day review. Now I'm gonna do a 90-day review. And my next video, I officially been with J.B.Hunt 6 months. So I'm ready to do a 6-month review from 5 months being dedicated and 1 month being local. So if you made it this far in the video, please hit that like button, comment, and subscribe. And if you out there on that road, stay prayed up, stay safe, and stay focused. And I'll see y'all on the next one, man. I'm out.